welcome back, welcome back, welcome back to another episode of Behind Beliefs and Behaviors. You know who I am. I'm your host, Dr. Maisha, and I am super excited for this guest. Now, let me tell you, with this sister, it's been a long time coming. We've been talking about for a minute to
Mhm,
get her on this show. And she is
mhm,
not only a financial coach and a financial advisor, she is also a friend. She is a sister. And I have known, I think it's been almost a decade or maybe longer that we've known each other. At least it feels that way. And
mhm,
so I am excited because we're going to be having this conversation about women, money, and medicine, smart strategies for women in medicine with Ashonda Davis,
mhm.
who is the founder of AMD and Associates Financial Group. And she does financial planning for women in white coats. And so she has been my personal financial coach, which I'm gonna say out loud that I have been probably I probably need to reconnect a little bit into that conversation. Look, I am not ashamed to say that sometimes a sister is human and I fall off track too. So, but she is my personal financial coach as well. So, welcome to the conversation, Ashonda. Thank you so much for being here on the show with me.
Dr. Maisha, listen, I'm so excited to be here with you. I'm trying not to grin so much where my lipstick messes up my retainers, okay? But no, it is, you know how we cut up. It is indeed a pleasure to be here with you. And I'm just excited about our conversation as always.
Well,
Yeah.
I've known you, and I will share this. There's always something when I do these conversations with people who are in my inner circle and my inner friend sister circle. I
Yeah.
always learn something new. So I would love for you to introduce yourself to the audience and kind of share, like, how did you come to be the financial advisor, the financial coach for women in white coats? Share a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, Ashonda Davis, born and raised in the Hampton, Virginia area by two amazing people who are still in love and married today. And they really helped to shape who I am. And so I'll be including them a little bit along the way. But yes, I'm a registered investment advisor, financial coach, and advisor. And I just really have this strong passion around helping women in white coats and women in medicine to both think and grow their wealth so
Mhm.
that they can feel like they have the ability to live more and worry less, right?
Mhm.
Because they have a financial plan that builds in financial peace because it's all based on their priorities, their goals, what's important to them around investments, around insurances, around money management, the whole gamut.
That's
And
right.
I think the reason why I do it the way I do it for women in white coats is two reasons. Number one, I was 27 years old, Dr. Maisha, when I
Mm.
spoke to my first financial advisor. But
Mm.
prior to then, I was around 15 when I came down the steps into the kitchen and my parents were sitting at the kitchen table and papers were everywhere. And I asked them, I said, what are y'all doing? They said, we're paying our bills. And I don't know why I said what I said next, but I said, can I help?
Oh,
And they, and
oh.
they said yes. And so I climbed on the little table and chair, and my dad slid a little book around and said, now
Mm.
only write what I tell you to. I said, yes,
Mm.
sir. So we all know that to be a checkbook. We 70s and 80s babies. But then
Mm.
also I learned that it was so important to invite your children or your child into the conversation with money.
Mhm.
So fast forward, I'm now 27 years old. I'm probably making maybe $32,000, maybe as a school teacher at the time, teaching principles of business and education. And I realized that, man, I still had over $30,000 of debt. That's not to include my student loans.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be financially responsible. And I think in some ways I was, but in other ways that I wasn't. And I just didn't know how to get there. So
Mhm.
I ended up running across my first financial advisor. And this is so funny. It's almost to the T what I hear a lot of women in white coats tell me about their experience with financial advisors. So I
Mhm.
spoke to my first advisor and he said, well, Lashonda, you're doing all the right things. Keep doing what you're doing. Good luck. First time in my life where I felt or I can remember feeling unheard,
Mhm.
undervalued,
Mhm.
underappreciated. And I've heard my female clients who are physicians say the same thing.
Mm.
both in their workplace, but
Mhm.
also in the financial services industry. 2 years later, I spoke to my second financial advisor, and he just talked so much. I thought I was Charlie Brown listening to his mother speak. I was just like,
Wah, wah,
Jesus,
wah.
womp, womp, womp. Ah. But at the end of the conversation, he did say, well, Shonda, let's get you started with a retirement account.
Mm.
And I said, okay, I'm open to that. But I said, is that all? And he said to me, yeah. Now I was 30,000 plus in debt.
Mm.
I had probably, again, I was trying to manage this, maybe at that time, $45,000 income.
Mhm.
I had very little saved.
Mhm.
And the only recommendation he had for me was to start a retirement account. So I left his office saying, okay, well, I've gotten something, but I feel like there's more.
Mhm.
At the end of the day, there was a voice inside. And this is so important for us as women to continue listening and honing in on that intuitive voice because it'll
Yes,
steer you right. And
that's
that
right.
voice said, Ashonda, if you don't see it, be it.
Ooh. Ooh, here we go. Here we
I,
go.
I said, okay. And that's literally where I began to say, okay, retirement planning is one piece of it, but let me uncover these other pieces
Yeah,
because I needed them for my life.
right.
They say put the oxygen mask on yourself first.
That's right. That's
And
right.
so, as a result of that, I said, this is where I want to play. This is the space I want to play in.
Mhm.
And the reason why I do serve women in white coats is because I was referred to one young lady who referred me to like a dozen more beyond that. And
Mhm.
I just fell in love with the similarities that
Yeah,
we share
yeah.
and how, again, as a Black woman, we need to help other Black women.
That's right. That's right. That is absolutely right. Because the information that we're getting
Yeah,
is not the information that the majority are getting.
it's not. And so being in the inside helps me to not only get it, not just from the books, but from the conversations,
Mhm.
and then implement it in my life, and then
Mhm.
turn around and help my clients implement it.
That's right. That's what I'm talking about. That's beautiful. That is beautiful. Particularly, I love that you chose women in medicine and medicine as an industry because as high, I'm going to put this in quotes, high earners, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I put it in quotes now because it's the appearance of high earning, especially to the people on the outside. I recently saw a post on LinkedIn and
Mm-hmm.
one of my colleagues, woman of color colleague, so she was responding to a post by someone else who had said, "Don't doctors think that making $250,000 a year for what they do is enough?" Right, so she was responding to that. And so, her answer, social media
Got it.
answer was yes and. Yes, and it doesn't take into account. And then talked about the amount of work we put in, talked about the amount of loans we come out with. From when I came out with about 150K, most of my but that's because I had some scholarships and I had some grants. Most
Mm-hmm.
of my colleagues actually came out
Mm-hmm.
with 250 to 3K, and the average now is about half a million or more, or more.
Correct.
And
Correct.
that's just med school debt, not undergraduate debt.
Correct.
So high earning is relative. So she was breaking that down. Like she was
Yeah.
breaking all of that down, the mental strain, the amount of hours that we worked still even after residency, the delayed gratification, having to go through residency making below minimum wage. There was all these things that she broke down in terms of what high earning, like why, yes, we would think it's enough per se from a revenue. I mean, it's high, not enough, but high from a revenue standpoint. But it's
Right.
only high if you have no other responsibilities, no debt, and you're still growing. You know what I'm saying? You have room to grow. So anyway, I say all that to say that there's so many myths, high earning,
Yeah.
and there's all this conditioning. By the way, y'all, I have to say this. I've been thinking about it for a moment. My friend here is also NLP trained.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know that's my world. So
Yeah.
she's also trained. So in terms of her coaching,
Mhm.
the sister knows how to listen, knows how to listen for the underlying beliefs that occur, knows how to listen for the language patterns, the disempowering language patterns, knows how to read body language. Anyway, I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna give it over to you, girl. I'm gonna give it over to you.
No, but you hit the nail on the head. The reality is that when you are dealing with not just the amount of debt that we often face and physicians often face, but there's things that are compound, there are variables that
Mhm,
are compounding on top of that, right?
mhm,
There's the unseen variables, or the variables that the overall community or individuals would not see, that's happening inside of the workplace,
mhm,
right? So,
mhm,
for example, how does one feel when we're dealing with, or when a doctor is dealing with sexism,
mhm,
having to like get trained on how to negotiate your contract? Then you have the outside pressures, and not to forget even just the bureaucracy, not to even
mhm,
consider fighting with insurance companies. So
mhm,
there's a lot of strain, as you mentioned, that
mhm.
many physicians and women are not compensated for based on the
Yeah,
work that they are performing.
absolutely.
Okay. So then you add additional stressors or challenges on top of women, because we typically, women physicians especially, tend to, of course, handle more of the household responsibilities, and then shoulder a lot of things that relate to childcare,
Mhm,
as well as care for their family or their parents.
mhm, mhm,
So then you have that set of challenges and
mhm,
variables.
mhm,
So, all of that to say, we do come to the table quite often with some limiting beliefs.
mhm. I want to add to that. Factor in whatever conditioning
Correct.
that you have around money
Correct.
already coming to the table, even before all this other stuff. And the things that you were or were not taught about money, period, about what it means, about its goodness or badness,
Right.
or whether you were included in your family finances, but some people never talked about money, and we certainly never talked about money. Yeah, and so it just compounded on, like, just the conditioning from what we were taught about money, like, what its goodness or its badness, or like whether you were included in the family finances or whether they never talked about money. Like in my household, we never talked about money. There's all the conditioning around money doesn't grow on trees and we can't afford that, and all of the like all of these sayings that get installed in
Yes.
our subconscious, and all the nonverbal suggestions around what one did or didn't buy, or only buying generic, or only buying from a certain store, or having only hand-me-downs, or like, which is nothing wrong with any of that, because I was the oldest child and I was always handing down, right?
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and I have a good girlfriend who has sons my son's age who are much, much taller, and she is handed me, unfortunately, with Delson being the only child, he doesn't have I don't have the benefit, not he. I don't get the benefit of hand me down. So yeah, so there's all this stuff that compounds exactly what you just said.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I will say, I know I'm not the only, but I'm sure I'm a type of anomaly where my parents invited me to the kitchen table.
Yeah.
Some of us are still fighting for a seat at the corporate table. But the point being is that I saw successes. I saw the money management, but I still saw some struggles. I saw where from time to time the lights would go out. From
Mhm,
time to time the AC would go out, and then it would be
mhm,
a while before they were able to get it fixed for it to work. I remember times where the cupboards were full and
mhm,
times where the cupboards were spare,
mhm,
sparse. And so there's a lot that we see and we hear
mhm,
that does condition us as a child. And
mhm,
then we carry that on to the college campuses, right? Particularly
mhm,
in medical school,
mhm.
where you're given a piece of candy, but you're sold interest rate.
Girl, girl. Woo, woo.
Given a piece of candy, but you're sold an interest rate.
Right,
And how do you then manage that? Do you
right.
talk to your parents about it? Do you keep it hidden? Do you just try to figure it out? And then you end up, in most people's cases, just this spiraling effect. And so,
Mhm,
therefore, I found that a lot of the physicians that I work with become very comfortable with that.
mhm.
That's not a relationship that I want people to continue,
Yeah.
particularly when there's high interest
Hi,
on the
yes.
debt, right?
Mhm,
But yeah, we have self-imposed limitations. Sometimes we think that we're not worthy, we're not good
Mhm.
enough. People have heard things said that African Americans or people of color, period, are less financially capable. So we
Mm.
have all of those things that we tend to pick up and carry with us.
Yeah.
Then you have people like us who are still trying to just balance cultural financial value. How do
Mhm.
our values in this community? I've seen that quite often, particularly in the
Mhm.
Hispanic community.
Mhm.
Particularly in the Hispanic community, we've gotten to a place as African Americans where the generational financial trauma does still show up, right? Because
Yeah.
redlining was real, the economic oppression and discrimination, all of that's real. We just can't live
Mhm.
in it, right? So what I'm learning and what I'm seeing and even proud of to a degree, I'm proud that we've graduated from that place and we are earning significantly, but our income
Mhm.
doesn't equal wealth.
Mhm.
Our income
That's
is
right.
simply an asset. It doesn't equal wealth, but it is an
Say that
asset
again.
to
Our
wealth
income.
building potential.
Yes. Say it again.
Our income, that high earning income does not equal wealth,
Yes.
but it is an asset to wealth
Mhm.
building potential. So, how we manage it, how we relate to it, how we emote with it, all of that becomes very relevant in your investment strategies. So, I tell
Mhm.
people, I said, listen, we are so hungry for the strategies and the how, but Tony Robbins says the strategy is the tyranny of how.
Mhm.
If you start with how, most times you won't experience success. So it has to be, let's look at these beliefs that we have with money, whether
Mhm.
they are limiting or whether they are empowering.
That's right.
Because if they're empowering, let's lean into it
That's right.
to develop more structure, to develop more strategies that are enhanced.
Mhm.
But if they're limiting, we need to create a shift.
Mhm.
And that's one of the reasons why my book series is titled Wealth Over Riches 10 Principles to Shift from Looking Rich to Building Wealth Habits. And the fourth book that I'm working on, Dr. Maisha, is based on, it's the White Coat Edition. It's geared
Mm.
to African American or people of color in
Yes.
medicine.
Love it. Love it. And by the way, we need to make sure that we have all of your book links
Okay.
because I want to make sure those are in the our notes section.
Okay.
So we got to make sure that I'll make sure we for the audience, I'll make sure we get those links in there. Yeah.
I love that. I'll definitely provide it for you.
So we've talked a bit about this mindset and some of the myths, and I really just love what you said. Like high income, and I'm paraphrasing it. High income doesn't equal wealth,
Mm-hmm.
but it's an asset to wealth building. I think that is just so key. If there's like one like takeaway moment, I think that's the first one.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear just high level, big picture. What
Mhm.
are some of the smart strategies that you recommend or that you work with women to create to help them to move from looking rich to building wealth?
So I think the very first one that I would start with, and it depends, right? Because you left medical school and went straight into your own business. You opened up your own practice.
Mhm,
And so I'm mindful that I could be speaking to someone such as yourself, an entrepreneur
mhm,
like me, but then
mhm,
we also may be speaking to others in your community and followership that may be working for a hospital or an organization or a
mhm,
company.
mhm,
So, with that being said, number one is I would say maximize any type of 401k option
mhm,
where you can take advantage of someone else putting money on the table with yours.
mhm,
If you're self employed, I definitely employ you to look at graduating your retirement strategy by creating a solo 401k or a 401k plan for your company. With the idea, and I know we don't have a lot of time to go into this, but I do invite your followers to schedule a free consultation with me,
we'll
right?
have that link too.
But we aren't often told that we can create these solo 401k plans
Mhm,
and we can implement a permanent life insurance policy inside of it. I'm okay with sharing this information because I know it still takes someone to implement it and do it for you. And so
absolutely.
that's why I'm not just a financial coach. I am a registered investment advisor. So that way I can help you take these strategies and actually implement them
Mhm,
on your behalf. So having a permanent life insurance policy inside of a 401k plan allows you to place more money into the plan than normal, take advantage of the tax deductions, and have both a safe and a risky strategy at play, because your money that's in the stock market is at risk, but there's high potential for growth. And then your money that's inside the permanent life insurance policy inside of the 401k is guaranteed protection. So that's number one. Yeah, retirement strategy 101. I think the second part that I would highly recommend is not only, I say create a PSP, a purposeful spending plan.
Mm, I
This is
like
that plan where you're enjoying today and you're not sacrificing tomorrow, but it
mhm,
encompasses everything. So I was talking to one of my clients. She earns about 500,000 a year, and one of
mhm,
her mentors is probably north of 1 million. And
mm,
now I've been working with her, coaching her, advising her,
mhm.
creating all her investment strategies. But
Yeah,
sometimes people and kids, we don't hear everything our parents tell us
that's right.
until so. After coaching with her for about 6 months, her mentor said to her, because I think she asked her a question, what do you attribute to your success? And the mentor said, I watch my spending. I watch where every dollar goes. And
Mhm,
so my client asked her, she says, but you're a millionaire. You watch every dollar? She says, absolutely. Just
mhm.
because I'm a millionaire doesn't mean I want to squander
Right.
my millions.
Mhm.
And so now I've been telling her this,
Yeah.
but it's okay. I just let her talk. She came back and said, all right. but, but even, and I'm not saying you have to watch every penny,
Right.
but what I am saying is that if you create a plan for your money, you can do more with your money. You
Mhm.
can create that investment, that savings, that travel, that
Mhm.
healthy living, because
That's
it
right.
takes a lot of money to buy organic. Okay. All
Right.
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 So that's the second thing. And the third thing is to leverage credit, but divorce debt.
Woo! Girl, say it again.
Leverage credit, but divorce debt.
Girl, not me running to your link to schedule right now and get back on your schedule. I'm like, what have I been thinking to be have to have been so far away for so long? Okay. Running to the link right
Which,
now.
you know what? I'm so glad that you said that, because I did have a fourth and you just reminded me of it. You got to treat your financial or your annual reviews with your financial advisor like you would encourage us to treat our meetings, our annual checkups with our doctors.
You all have witnessed it. I am getting coached right on the show. This is not planned. I'm a believer, and I believe that God speaks to me in various ways. And I think that in this particular recording, on this particular episode, on this particular day that we're recording, which for the record is August 29th, 2024. I don't know when this is going to end up coming out, but I believe in right timing. And I am saying, I hear the messages. I hear the messages. I love and appreciate this sister on so many levels, and very much so as a financial coach and advisor. And so when I say to you, run to the link and schedule a call, I mean that. I want to come back to what you said about scheduling, like treating your appointments with your financial advisor like we would say treat your annuals. So one of the things I say about mental health is that we talk about well-being, the like how holistic well-being really is, and financial well-being is part of well-being. And one of the things I feel about mental health, there's primary care and then there's specialty care, and mental health is somewhere around in there. And I always say that I feel like mental health should be considered primary care.
Mm.
And so what I want to say is that just in terms of financial, and this is really something that I think has landed for me today deeper than has ever landed, is that when you said what you said, I just it made me think to myself, our financial well-being requires regular checkups. And just like in a diabetic, we will have them come back every 3 months to check their A1C, to make sure that their diet's on check, to make sure their blood pressure, to do their blood
Mhm.
work. Like,
Yes.
this is the kind of thing that we need to be doing with our finances. And I think because money feels like such a scary topic and there's so much shame and guilt and embarrassment
It is.
that is connected with financial status, especially in a person who's supposed to be a high earner, right? Who's supposed to be a high earner. And then there's a collapsing of being a high earner with being good with money. There's a big myth inside of there,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And so I think that when we think about, I mean, I love that you talk about this mindset, right? But when I think about why do we avoid talking about money? Why do we avoid? It's because of the emotion connected to it and the shame and the that we weren't taught. That's not even our fault that we weren't taught.
Yes.
I'm speaking around general belief systems, but I'm also speaking personally as a person who never went into a typical system and made 300, 400, $500,000 off the bat, but has built my businesses from the ground up and has struggled financially in the process and has acquired lots of debt on top of my med school debt and has paid it off and has acquired again and has paid it off and has acquired again, like the roller coaster. And for me, in my mind, it feels like, well, why do I keep ending up here? Like, I should know better. I should know better. For those of you who are listening, I have my air quotes up. I should know better.
Mhm.
When that's not really the case, it's all about habits.
Mhm. It is.
It is all about habits and the habits and accountability.
Mhm.
And not only do you help people to develop the habits, but you
Mhm.
serve as an accountability partner.
Mhm.
I think that's the other thing because I'm gonna speak freely now. The unconscious avoidance, because it is
Yep.
unconscious, it's not conscious, right? The unconscious avoidance of this conversation
Yes.
has more to do with understanding that you're an accountability partner and not wanting to let you down, right? So I get that as a coach. I
Mhm.
understand that because my clients do the same thing. They come to their sessions and they say, I didn't finish all of my homework. Man, I just didn't want to, but I don't want to let you down. I'm so
Right.
sorry. And I'm like, no apologies necessary. Like, life be life.
It does.
And so now I just in the speaking freely, and I feel like I can speak freely and honestly because I know I'm not the only person that does this around money,
Mhm.
particularly. And in our industry where we're conditioned to perfectionism,
Mhm. Correct. Well, I mean, there's lives at stake. So at the high stake, achieve a level of perfectionism that is quote unquote touted to us. But please continue.
no, exactly what you said.
Mhm.
Exactly what you said.
Mhm.
And so I think this is just such a beautiful and refreshing conversation. And it serves as a reminder to me, and I hope and affirm an empowerment to
Mhm.
any, not just women in medicine,
Mhm.
but any woman,
Correct.
high earner,
Right.
entrepreneur, woman of color
Yes.
who is listening to this conversation about money. I
Mhm.
think we just need to normalize
Yes.
talking about money
Yes.
wherever we are.
Yes.
And the more we normal, it's like normalize talking about mental health, normalize saying that you're not okay.
Right.
Because when you can speak it, it takes away the power that it has over you.
Mhm.
We can normalize not being okay about money
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
normalize when there is challenge and when there is a valley,
Mhm.
then we have a place to stand and something to do about it.
Mhm. You
And
said
that's what we
you
serve.
said a couple of things that I want to definitely not just address, but
Mhm.
unpack a little bit.
Mm.
Let's talk about the embarrassment and the shame. Let's say there are 10 women that I initially meet with a week. Dr. Maisha, would you not be surprised? Let's say five of them are physicians and five of them are from some other industry.
Mhm.
Would you not be surprised that over 80% of them have some level of their guilt and their shame show up in tears, in embarrassment, and that embarrassment shows up in like a sunken body and
Yeah.
form. Oftentimes they are looking down versus giving me eye contact
Mm-hmm.
because of those things that you just mentioned. So it is very real. They feel like, you know what? I mean, I have been in school for upteen years. I've sat in front of boards. I've taken countless continuous education courses, and
Yep.
I've done all of these things, but I'm not right with my money. I don't have a good relationship with my money.
Right.
I'm fearful of investing, or I just
Mhm.
don't know enough. I'm doing it, but I don't know what I'm doing, right? I
Right.
have somebody else handling it.
Right.
I'm not being educated on it. And I want to be, and I
Mhm.
want to be,
Mhm.
but I'm afraid to ask because the person who came and sold me my disability insurance policy while I was in med school, they wrote the policy, but they never showed me how to make sure that I was on the right side of money,
Mhm.
right? Or money management. They sold me a life insurance policy, but they didn't show me how to make sure that I had a great saving strategy,
Mhm.
right? They
Mhm.
didn't show me how to position myself to reduce my debt, even if I can't eliminate it right now. How can I reduce it efficiently? So I had a physician literally just the other day said, Ashana, I appreciate you not just like going straight to a solution or
Mhm.
a product. She says, but I heard how you talked about my mindset. I heard how you asked poignant questions
Yeah.
about why I believe what I said.
Yeah.
She said that helped me to question myself and why
Right.
those were deep seated beliefs, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Because again, the strategy is one thing. I can help you with the strategy all day long, and I have them in my books, in my book series.
Mhm.
But if we don't address the mindset so that it's properly aligned,
Yes.
there won't be long term success here. So that's why you see a lot of physicians, unfortunately, who retire broke.
Mhm.
I'm
Yeah.
not saying everybody, but
That's
a
a
lot.
lot.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I see it. Mhm.
Yes. So we definitely have to get on the right side of money in our thinking and couple
Mhm.
that with the right strategies.
Yeah. 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 And arguably, that can be one of the most challenging things to overcome.
Because it's ongoing.
It's ongoing and can be somewhat can feel, not can be, but can feel somewhat out of our control until we bring it into our
It can.
control.
I was just about to say, listen, we do have a belief sometimes that things are out of our control, when in reality, we don't realize how powerful we are in recognizing just our ability to control it, control it by controlling ourselves.
That's right.
We can navigate our thought process, and then
Mhm,
we can navigate the learning environment that's going to teach us what we need to know. You
mhm.
taught me so many things just about life and living. We have had so many raw conversations that have been so helpful, so inspiring, and some of it related to business.
Yeah.
Definitely some, a lot has related to business, and some just related to life.
Mhm.
I say that as an example of positioning ourselves in the right conversations with the
That's
right people who want to see you win.
that's right. That's right.
And sometimes we don't know that we need to do that with the right doctor, the right financial advisor, the
Right.
right cultural mindset, the right people. We have to align with
That's
the
right.
right people.
Mhm. Mhm. Girl, woo! This conversation has filled me up. Ooh,
Me
ooh,
too.
ooh, ooh. I am so grateful for you. I'm really I'm speaking on a personal level, just so grateful for you. Every single time we get together on this on a virtual form or on a stage platform or on a
Right.
girlfriend platform, I
Right.
come away being filled. So I want to thank you
Yes.
for just reinvigorating me in this episode, just like like I would treat my well-being, make my appointments, do my follow-ups.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just feel so empowered for the partnership.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you. I want to make sure the audience knows, I mean, we're gonna have in the show notes, but I always like to ask,
Sure.
if they want to reach out to you and work with you,
Mm-hmm.
how do they do that?
The best way is to get in contact with me through my website
Mhm.
or social media. So my website is simply my name,
Mhm.
www.ashondadavis.com. That's the easiest way. So I have all kinds of formats. You can use my scheduling link. You'll find
Mhm.
it on my website. It
Mhm.
has our office phone number, and it has our email. So that's where you can find everything. But if social media is your primary mode of communication and you like to use that channel, official Ashonda M. Davis is where I can be found on Instagram, and then LinkedIn, ashondadavis.com.
Mhm. Excellent. And then in terms of your books, where can people purchase your books?
On my website as well.
Good.
As a quick aside, you can go to ashondadavis.com/books with an
Mm.
S on the end, and
Mhm.
you'll be able to find all three.
Excellent. 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 So we'll have all that in the show notes.
Yes.
Y'all need to go and run to the link right now. Run to the link, click the link, or put it in your URL, whatever
Mhm.
you're going to do. Schedule a call, buy the books, get on this financial well being plan.
Yes.
Yeah, it's crucial. It's
Yeah.
crucial, especially nowadays. Got to prepare ourselves.
We really do. But look, just inflation alone.
Oh, right. So, well, you all heard it. Thank you so much for being on with me. This has been such a wonderful conversation. I know that we're going to have more conversations. This is just the beginning. I know there's so much more to be said about our mindset, about myths, about strategies. I mean, there's so many things we could talk about. So I am committed because I think that we don't talk enough about money. And I don't, I honestly, this is probably the first time that I've had a financial conversation on this podcast. And so we need to be having you probably back as a regular guest on the show to talk about money. So let's plan for that. Let's plan for that for sure. So thank you so much for just for being with me in this conversation today.
I would love that because there's so many levels to it and so many layers, and like you mentioned,
Mhm.
strategies. So I don't want to keep it all to myself, and I know not everyone is going to schedule a call, but if I can drop little nuggets to empower you, that's what I want to do. So
Yeah.
I'm here for
It's,
it.
it's those little nuggets that motivate us, that matter, that motivate us to get moving, right? Like, oh, I can
Yes.
do that. Oh, okay, I need to call her because we need to talk about that. Like that. Yeah, absolutely. Well, you all heard it. You all know what to do. Go to ashondadavis.com, get the books, schedule the call, do the thing. And of course, share this episode because this was a really great conversation. Now, we usually, my guests episodes are usually around 40 minutes. We have gone beyond because this conversation is so good. So share it with a friend, share it with a colleague, share it with a family member, because we need to be talking more about money. We need to normalize talking about money, especially in the Black community. That is where all the shame and blame and all that stuff exists in our community, to dismantle that and normalize talking about money and building wealth. You know that this podcast comes out every Monday. So remember to like press that subscribe button so that you do not miss when a new episode comes out, because we're always having these transformational conversations. That's what I'm all about. I'm all about getting behind beliefs, changing behavior, and empowering transformation. So hit that subscribe button, share this with your people, and you know where to find me if you need in your organization or personally. If you want, I'm all things communication, brain, and behavior. So if you need some deep work, or if you need me to come and do deep work in your organization around creating trust and safety, you know where to find me, minddreammappingacademy.com. So until the next time I see you, you all stay empowered.